Welcome to The Explainer. Here, we love digging into the big topics and making them, well, make sense.
Have you ever just stopped and looked at a price tag and thought, why? Why does it cost that much? Whether it's your morning coffee or a new car, prices aren't just random numbers. They're actually the result of this constant, invisible tug-of-war happening all around us.
And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on those two massive forces, supply and demand. Once you get how they work, it's like having a backstage pass to the entire economy. So let's dive in.
Okay, so let's start with the side we all know best, the buyer side. This is all about us, you and me, the consumers, and what makes us decide to open our wallets.
Now this is super important. The key words here are ready, willing, and able. See, demand isn't just wishful thinking. I might want a fancy sports car, but unless I've got the money and I'm actually ready to write that check, I'm not really part of the economic demand for it.
And this graph, it perfectly captures a basic rule of, well, being human. That downward slope is basically a picture of our collective bargain hunting instinct. The cheaper something gets, the more of it we want. It's the simple logic behind every sale, every clearance rack, and every Black Friday stampede.
Think about it like this. You're shopping for jeans. At $10, you might grab 2 or 3 pairs, why not? But if those exact same jeans are $30, you're probably going to be a little more careful and maybe just buy the one pair you really need. The product didn't change, but the price totally changed your behavior.
So, okay, price is a huge piece of the puzzle. But it's not the whole story, right? What about the money in our pockets? When you get a raise or a new job, does it change what you buy? You bet it does.
Yeah, economists actually have a couple of neat categories for this. A normal good is the stuff you buy more of when you're making more money. Like going for the nice steak instead of ground beef. Then there's an inferior good, which is the opposite. It's what you buy less of as your income goes up. Like maybe you'll finally stop buying instant noodles every night.
And this is where things get really interesting, because what's normal and what's inferior can totally flip depending on the situation. Get this. During a recession in Japan, people's incomes were falling. You'd think they'd cut back on premium beer, right? But nope. Sales of Asahi Super Dry actually went up. It became this affordable little luxury, a small treat when bigger things were out of reach.
Okay, so that's the buyer side of things, but you can't buy what isn't for sale, right? So let's flip the script and look at the entire marketplace from the seller's point of view.
For suppliers, the whole mindset is reversed. They're not thinking about what they want to buy. They're trying to figure out what's actually profitable to make and put on the shelves. Every different price point sends them a signal.
I mean, the logic is pretty straightforward, isn't it? A higher price tag is basically a giant green light for producers. It means there's a good chance they'll not only cover all their costs, but also make a nice profit. And that profit is the fuel that gets them to produce more.
Okay, hold on. Buyers want rock-bottom prices. Sellers want sky-high prices. How does anything ever get sold? It sounds like a total stalemate, doesn't it?
Well, this is where the market works its magic. See that point where the two lines cross? That's called equilibrium. It's the market's sweet spot, that one single price where the number of things people want to buy is exactly the same as the number of things sellers want to sell. It's perfect balance.
And what happens if the price isn't at that sweet spot? Well, if it's too low, everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to sell. Bam, you've got a shortage. Think empty shelves. But if the price is too high, sellers have warehouses full of stuff nobody's buying. That's a surplus.
So the market is this self-balancing machine most of the time. But what happens when someone from the outside, like a government, comes along and shoves a wrench in the gears by setting the price themselves?
This is what's called a price ceiling. And you can see the logic, right? The intention is usually pretty good, to protect people and keep essential things like rent or gasoline from getting crazy expensive. But, and this is a big but, look what happens on the graph. When you artificially force that price down, demand shoots up because it's cheap, but supply dries up because it's not profitable to sell anymore. And that gap between them, that, my friends, is a shortage. And that's exactly how you get long lines at the gas pump.
On the flip side, you have a price floor. This sets a legal minimum price. And the classic example we always talk about here is the minimum wage. The goal is to make sure workers are paid enough to have a decent standard of living. And again, we see a potential trade-off. By setting the price of labor, that's the wage, higher than the market's natural balancing point, you can get a situation where more people are looking for work than there are jobs available. And that surplus of labor? Well, that's another way of talking about unemployment.
So you see,
These aren't just squiggly lines in a textbook. They're like the laws of physics for our economy. And once you get how they work, you've basically unlocked a new superpower for understanding the world.
So let's do a super quick rundown. The law of demand, price goes down, we want to buy more. The law of supply, price goes up, companies want to sell more. Equilibrium is that happy middle ground where everyone agrees. And price controls, well, they can really mess with that natural balance.
So now you have the toolkit. The next time you see Uber prices surging in the rain or wonder why that one hot gift is sold out everywhere before the holidays, you'll know what's going on behind the scenes. It's all part of that constant, fascinating dance of supply and demand.